Relax your forehead, release your jaw, allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. Take a big inhale, big exhale. This week on Carlie's Couch, we're talking about the importance of moving more slowly.
Buenos dias. Welcome to the couch, everyone. Thank you for listening another week with us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. I'm excited to be here. I am very much enjoying this LA fall weather.
Yeah, it's been really nice. Shout out to winter almost. Shout out to fall.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, it feels good. But this is the extent of it, so that's also why it's cool because, it's not going to get that much colder. So,
yeah. But
shout out LA.
Yeah, shout out to LA. I've been really enjoying my cozy socks and my hoodies. So excited to have those back. But how you feeling today, Lex?
I feel pretty good. Just been doing the usual lately, working, etc. But I feel that today's topic is very timely for me because I feel like towards the end of the year is when you kind of, people start to move in a little more slow and prepping in a holiday mode. And I don't know, I feel like lately I've been kind of forced to like take it more slow. So we'll talk about that in the episode, but I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
I'm feeling wonderful. And it's so funny that this is our topic because even on the way to come film this, I was like, girl, slow down. Like, why are you in a rush? Why are you always in a rush? Yeah, but for what? Like, yeah. So anyways, I thought about this topic and wanted to do this episode because I was in a board meeting for this nonprofit I'm on the board of. And there's another yoga teacher who did our intro. And we were already running behind time because parking in downtown LA can be crazy. And so, you got to get 14 people there. And so we're already late. And the person over the board is like trying to rush the schedule, and the yoga teacher was like, nah, we just gonna go slow and take a moment and allow, whatever space we need, we'll get everything done. And I was like, yeah, you're right, because that's like a metaphor for life. Like I always feel like a lot of times I catch myself like rushing to do something and just like kind of stressed about stuff. And it's like, if you really relax and kind of just go with the flow, things tend to always get better.
Mm-hmm. So with that story, it's like everybody was just kind of getting there like close to time, and then it's like you feel that kind of energy of wanting to like move it along more quickly. But in general, when we're talking about take it slow, we're referring to our literal like in our actions, in our movement, or are you meaning that like metaphorically?
I mean that in every sense. So yeah, okay. Like actually like moving a little bit slower, like and also like metaphorically like relaxing and breathing and being in the present moment, all of that. Okay. Yeah, and I had to make sure we hadn't done an episode on this already because I do remember a couple of stories, but we actually just talked about essentialism and the importance of doing less but better. And if you want to listen to that, it's episode 132. Go ahead and run that back. It's also a great reminder around this time.
Yeah, I actually admire people who speak very slowly. I was catching up with a friend of mine, Van, the other day, just randomly was like from Instagram, was like, yo, let's catch up. And when I was Zooming with him, I just noticed like he responds like, yes, I am saying words and I have thought about them and they make sense. And I was like, dang, in my head, I knew I was like excited and I was like just talking and I was like, I don't know if I'm making sense like to myself, but I really admire that people who like move slow, not like Eeyore slow, but people who can really move slow because it feels like they're wiser almost. Like it feels like you are, I don't have to try, or I'm not like trying to prove anything, or you're just, I am here and I'm doing what I want to do. That's the vibes I get from moving slow. So when it comes to like the actual literal, like your movements, your speech, all of that, like I really, really wish I could do better with that. But I do, but not like that.
I think the same thing for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I associate slowness with like being older or something like that. And that's inherently wiser. But also it just takes me back to the tortoise and the hare. Like, Aesop been telling these fables since we were little, and the importance of that. But for the most part, like including mannerisms and movement, but also metaphorically, would you say you move slowly or quickly through life? Like where do you put yourself on that scale?
I mean, it just totally depends on like what I'm speaking to. But if I was just in general, I would say that I probably am in the middle. I don't think I move too fast or too slow. In general, but it's not necessarily one over the other, I don't think, for me. What about you?
I have moments. So I just took a sip of this delicious tea and I was like, oh, it's so good. And in the mornings, I move real slow. Like I have carved out time to be slow and enjoy it and do what I need to do. But then throughout the day, I'm like on a roll. I'm moving. And that's just kind of my vibe. Like I move very quickly. I speak quickly. I walk really fast. I drive fast. And so I think I'm more towards, I'm probably like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably an 8 towards fast.
So is it like a certain area in your life? Like it sounds like when it comes to getting somewhere, like is that where you're faster or around people? For me, I'm really fast around other people, but I would say that that's probably due to you're talking faster and quicker because and I don't think this is what I think in my head. Like I'm not trying to be like I have to let them know I know what I'm talking about, so I'm talking fast. But you kind of do is almost like a nervous type thing or like an anxiety type thing. You just like talking really fast because you want to show that you're excited or that you're knowledgeable or whatever. But not in transportation, not in moving. I do in walking, but I can explain that away too. I think a lot of it is just from habits. But I do like my slow time. But for you, it seemed like it was like in movement and maybe just around other people or when you have things to do with other people. But on your own and left to your own devices, for the most part, you're kind of chill.
Yeah, outside of going places and walking, like driving and walking. Outside of that, I'm a little bit more like, I don't know, I just walk real fast and I feel like I'm always in a rush. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like, girl, it's Sunday. You don't even have to be nowhere. You don't even have to be at the farmer's market right now. True.
So I might need to change my answer then because maybe if I'm thinking about my brain, like then I would say I move fast because my brain moves very fast and a little bit all over. Most mornings, like I have my routine of like I'll make my coffee, but like not say most, maybe at least like 4 out of 7 mornings, I will like in the process like put the try to pour the coffee into the wrong thing to grind it or like do something like incorrect and be like, whoa, Lex, like relax. Like every other morning I'm like, Lex, relax. Like, and I think I'm just, my brain is moving fast, but I'm not really processing what's going on. But it's in my mind and that's very ADHD-ish. So when you're having so many thoughts firing off, you do have to kind of, I think, physically like slow yourself down and like how you did at the beginning, like take a deep breath or just like tell yourself like just chill out, and then you kind of get it. But I think sometimes we automatically get in that mode.
Yeah, and I think it's learned. To your point, I didn't even think about like the ADHD or that. I think a lot of it's habits, and my brain definitely moves way faster than like anything else. So I be in tongue tied or dropping stuff, tripping over whatever, because we're just not in alignment. So I think one of the biggest benefits for me that I've noticed, like even in just that breath, I'm like, oh, I felt my whole body relax a little bit. Like when I pause to breathe or when I move a little bit slower, speak a little bit slower, it doesn't like feel less stressful.
Yeah, I think when you pause, you notice how tense you were. When I go to meditate is when I notice that my like teeth are like chattering or like I can feel like there's adrenaline rushing through, which if I wasn't trying to sit down to start meditating, to me it just feels normal. I don't feel like I'm sitting here mad chill. I don't feel like I'm like rushing with adrenaline, but you realize like how tense you are when you like take that moment. And so maybe that's part of it when we're talking about moving fast. It's like being tense and just like your body's literally like generating so much energy where, how can you be in a little bit more like hibernate mode or, it's like you just turn down a little bit. I think I talked about it a couple of episodes ago. I think I was about to say substances, but that's not the word, supplements that I had got. I think the supplements that I had got are helpful for that. What they are amino acids for neurotransmitters, and it's like, it tells them like not to release so much. So like that is like kind of like, yo, relax, my dog. Like that's what they do. So I think sometimes that's what you need when it comes to thinking about moving fast versus moving slow.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Like I was like, why do we move so fast? Like what is it? A lot of it's habit. It sounds like stress and anxiety, ADHD, a lot of things that it could be. I also think we're kind of socialized to do that, to make sure you're timely and shuffling from class to class, like even thinking about it in like elementary school and middle school, and you always have to be somewhere. So I think we're kind of trained to do that. And so whenever you do slow down, it allows, your body to relax into the present and not be so high strung.
I agree with what you said. And to add on to that, a couple of things. One, culturally, which ties into what you're saying. So, for example, when you're in Europe or other places and they walk much slower, or they have their hands behind their back and they're like, taking their time a little bit more. They have more time in the middle of the day, like for lunch. It's not like a rush. And then there's some Asian cultures where it is much more like getting there on time, being where you need to be. And then in urban areas, literally like big cities like New York, Singapore, things like that. Like there's more people, more sense of rush and hustle and bustle. And so the culture can affect you in that way as well. And then I think another thing, like psychologically, I think that people want to be first, and like people want to be first, and you want to get things done. All of those types of things kind of lead you to, wanting to talk a lot or move a lot or do things or, get it done or at least giving like the perception like you're always on the go and always doing things. And maybe that's a little bit more of just like being busy as opposed to moving fast. But I think it kind of all ties together with this sense of you being a person who is like here, there, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And I think that can start to wear and tear on the body. When I started researching this, I was like looking at the effects of, stress on the body, and a lot of like quick moving things is tied to stress, because whenever you don't give yourself time to rest, whenever you're not present, whenever you're scarfing down meals, there's actually this interesting study. They were looking at heart health, and they were trying to correlate it to stress. And they took two countries, Austria and France, and like Austrians had a higher heart disease or heart rate disease or heart issues, like more so than the French people did. And so they were like, okay, well, maybe it's their diet. So they started like getting them to eat a French diet. Didn't change anything. But then they noticed that Austrians were only spending 10 minutes to eat dinner or eat a meal, whereas French people took 40. Like they savored their food. And to your point about like, walking slower and stuff, like I've noticed, or at least on movies, to the places I haven't been, that, that like food is something to be savored. It's not like scarfed down. Like here, a lot of people eat lap lunches in the car and eat through work and do all that stuff. Whereas you don't really do that in some places.
Or even when you go to a restaurant, like, most of the time it's like you waiting for the food and stuff. Once you get food, you be like, oh, we're really just going to take 20 minutes and be out of here. And that's not even like trying to super like major pain, like rush it down. It's just we eat fast. And when you hear about or have been to or see in a lot of European culture as well, it almost feels like a whole different perspective towards life in general. Like as far as enjoying the moment and savoring things a little bit more, maybe like just a different level of going with a flow that we don't necessarily have here. It's about like making your way and making your path, and you have to build what you want to see, as opposed to maybe taking it a little more relaxed. Earlier you mentioned the tortoise and the hare, and what do you think was the moral of that story?
Like a steady pace towards your path. Like you'll always accomplish your goals. Like focus and just staying. Like it doesn't matter the pace. Like as long as you're focused. Because
get there.
because the hare was kind of all over the place, and I feel like him a lot of the times, because like I'm gonna run over here and do this and do this and do this, and he's like bouncing around. He could have been one that raised 12 times over, but he had to go do this and go tell his homies he was gonna win and do all this, and he ended up losing.
I'll say, to my memory, that's what I remember. It's like he's so fast. He's like, oh, let me do some side missions, and that kind of brings you back thinking about kind of ADHD and all that too, where it's like you're not keyed in. It's not even about how fast you are. And maybe that's kind of like what I was kind of trying to get to about this. Like, it's not even just that he was fast and he could have did it, but it's like, it doesn't matter if you're fast if you're not focused on like getting to the actual goal. And I think a lot of times we use being fast and moving fast and I'm doing all of these things as almost like something to make us feel good, feel productive. And really a lot of times it's like not the actual work or not the actual focus that we need to be on to actually get things done more simply. Like you can get a lot of things done more quickly, just by doing something simple or breaking it down or, if you just focus on this one task, but you maybe focus on it for 2 weeks, every day, instead of like, all right, I got all these projects I'm doing and I'm working on this and I'm working on this. And you might be working so many hours and none of it's getting finished exactly. So I think that's a big thing about taking it slow is not just your pace, but like take it slow and be focused in on, the things that you're doing, which also goes in line to what you're saying about also the being present and taking a breath and pay attention to your body, pay attention to when you're eating and moving and doing things. Really taking it slow is about being more present with every little thing that's going on. And you have to move slow to really be taking that in.
Mm-hmm. That's the whole episode right there. But I think it's so important. We're so often reminded in this wild ass world how fragile life is. And how important, the seemingly little moments are, like eating dinner with your friends, walking around the block, with a friend or your partner, having morning coffee with your partner or a friend or whatever, like Zoom calls. And we're always so distracted and all over the place. And let me just speak for myself. I'm usually distracted and kind of like a little bit all over the place that you can miss those moments. And that's really what matters, like in the long run.
And that reminds me, yesterday I saw a car accident right in front of me. And I was riding out from my house to kind of get into the street. And then how sometimes there's like two parallels. So there's a bigger street and a smaller street. And then somebody was coming in from the bigger street while somebody was, I guess they thought it was their turn to like start going through the stop. And they both was like, bloop, right in front. And I was just right here and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and reverse. But at first I was like, oh, they're good. Because it was just like a little pop because he had just hit the gas. But that made me think too, like, of course, now, for the rest of the time I'm trying to drive to, where was I going? I had like a 15-minute trip ahead of me too. So, I was like going, I was paying attention. I was like, let me be cautious. Let me look at these cars around me. Let me pay attention in my mirrors. Like before I, switch lanes, let me actually turn my head, all the things, right? And I think sometimes it takes stuff like that to like remind you like, okay, it's not even just about me, but other people around you who might not be taking their time or paying all the way attention or whatever. And at least if you're just being vigilant, here, present, looking at things, you can maybe avoid, somebody else as well. So yeah, like the person who gets in that accident, like I'm sure it's never worth like, oh, I could have been somewhere on time. If you end up breaking something or hurting somebody else, or like you're saying, those moments that you may miss because you're too busy on stuff or moving too fast and not paying attention. Those are all the things that everybody always says are the most important. At the end of the day, and yet somehow every day as we're living through the day, we don't always take the time to honor those things and respect those things. So that's something we can definitely do a better job of.
And so we have a challenge for you this week. The tortoise challenge. I don't know what to call this thing, but
we do
a couple of areas that you can be more mindful or be
like some
more
homework
patient.
to try.
Some little things to try. Nothing crazy. You ain't got to write nothing down unless you want to journal because journaling's usually always great. But one thing I want you to try is like mindful eating. If you want to do an actual exercise and you want like instructions and all those things, just Google mindful eating. It'll pop up for you, I promise. And that's an interesting like meditation to try. I did it with the raisin at USC. It was very interesting. But if you don't want to do all that, just try to be more mindful. Like actually savor your food, chew it, notice how it tastes, notice how it feels going down, notice how nourished you are, or take time to actually be present with whoever you're eating a meal with.
Another thing with the eating too, this is the first thing that comes to my mind. Because I know you're supposed to chew your food like some wild amount of times, like 30 something times. And so it's so funny. Like I'd be like, dang, am I chewing? I don't think I'm chewing that much. And if you count your chews, you're like, oh, wow, I'm really supposed to chew this for like 2 minutes out here. And that will really slow you down too. But I know doing that, and really I was just trying to see like how much is really chewing your food supposed to like really be to really help your body digest and get it out of here. But that helped me to be mindful because I was like, oh, I just be like, shoot, and we're out of here like, for the most part. So that's something you can do too is count like 30 chews and every bite.
Yo, and it is wild like when you actually take time because I especially when I'm trying to eat between things, I inhale food. And that was part of the study too. Like whenever you just inhale food and you don't chew it properly, it actually is worse for your body because it has to do more work to break it down, which then it can't rest and can't digest, and then starts to lead to diseases and stuff like that. So really, like, take some time with that this week. Another one, Lexi just mentioned it, but like when you're going places, like taking time, like if you're walking around the block, like try to slow down a little bit and just see what's around you. Like start to look around, maybe less on your phone and more around.
Hopefully you're already doing this when you drive.
Yeah,
I mean, we already know better, but just really do it.
Yeah, actually do that.
Another thing that you can do is take the time to do something that's in your regular routine a little more slowly. So actually, I randomly did this one day, and I know I've talked about it on the podcast before. But like one day I was getting ready for bed, and I was like, man, my feet kind of dry. Like, let me put some lotion on my feet. And then I started putting some lotion on my feet, and then I hit it with a little rub, and I was like, oh, this actually feels like a real massage. Because you know how it's not the same when you like massage yourself for real, like it's somebody else doing it. And I was like, oh, no, this feels kind of good. And I like really took time. I was like digging all in my arches, and I was like, ooh, like putting the lotion on and getting it in there. And I was like, this feels really nice as I was doing it. And I was like, I should do this more often, like really take my time with it. And it just felt like a whole like self-care, like fire moment for real. Like it really felt like a good moment. I was like, this is really nice. Like I am taking care of myself and just doing something that feels good for myself. So think about what that could be for you. What are some other things that could take more slowly?
Real quick, if you are going to do the massages, whole butters are great for that.
Oh, yeah.
And also just rubbing in before you go to bed.
Washing your face.
I'm about to say washing your face, brushing your teeth, maybe getting ready in the morning. Like if you already don't take some time, maybe you take a little bit more time to, you know, put on your clothes or to do your hair, to do your makeup instead of like rushing through stuff and like just to get it done. Like maybe, you know, like, okay, I want to kind of feel myself today.
Yeah, there's always something to me that like, it feels a little better when you're like really going in to like make something really nice or like really take that time for yourself to do something with all of those things we just said. Like it feels different. Is there any of those that you already do or have done regularly?
So I take time. So part of the reason why I love whole butter in general, and not just talking about mine, but is because I like to take time to rub it in before I go to sleep. Like it's like a little sanctuary moment for me just to caress myself and to rub my feet and to rub my calves if they're sore, you know, whatever's going on with my body. I feel like it puts me in that space. I also do my facial like gua sha routine, and I go real slow with that because you have to move that lymph around and around delicate skin. The rest of that stuff not quite, so probably could do that. But even like any small, quote unquote, small moment or anything you do every day can be a ritual.
Ooh, or the other day I was so I have a 3-bedroom, and then we were Airbnb-ing, and now that guy's gone. So I was like, oh, I have more, you know, space to like really move around and walk around in my house. So the other day I was like, shoot, man, I should take a bath today. Like that's not something you do if you have to share the bathroom, really, because yeah, I wasn't about to wash it every time. But I was like, ooh, let me take a bath, man. I was like, hold up. I was getting excited because I was like, hold up, I could take my little Himalayan salt. I took my little candle in there. I was like, let me grab my book. I was like, shoot, let me grab my little pipe. Like I grabbed everything and I was like, let me grab my speakers. Of course, I had my little bossa nova jazz going. Hey. I had the little salt in the bath. I was sitting there. I was like, I could take time. I don't even have to smoke right now. I was like, let me read my book. And I was like, well, let me go ahead and hit that. And I was like, all right, well, I guess it's time for me to actually shower now. And then, you know, finished up, cleaned up. And I did that really fast because it was like, all right, soap, whatever. But it felt really good just to be like, I have time to do that. And like, why not just actually chill a little bit? Like, so even if I would say you can't pay attention to it all day, or, you know, of course we got to like, oh, I got to get this something done before this Zoom in here. I got to get somewhere or whatever. Like, sure, you got to be places where you got to be there. But even if there's something or some time, I think especially in the morning is really important because that shows that you are the ownership of your time. That's what's strong about that. But then the end of the day wind down, that'd be busting. I'd be having a nice little time at the end of the day where I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm not doing nothing else. And, you know, it feels better to do something, I think, for myself than just like watching TV. So yeah, like, man, sometimes you just got to find you a slowdown time.
Create one, because if you try to find it, you're never going to find it. Put it in there. If it is just eating lunch by yourself or, you know, whatever it is, for all those people who don't have time, Tony Robbins said, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. Like if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, you don't have a life. What kind of life are you living You can't spend 10 minutes on yourself. You are so worth it. And it's really important because it's in those little moments that you're like, oh, life is kind of lit right now. Like, I feel good. I feel good. I'm doing something for myself. You know, I'm enjoying this moment. Like, oh, this is why I do all the other things that I do so I can enjoy these moments.
Yeah, it's like taking it slow reminds you of like what you can do with your time, as opposed to being on other people's time. And something that has kind of hit me as we've been talking, unless do we need to go over any other exercises? Okay, because I don't want to switch off from it. But something that's kind of been coming to the surface for me, Carlie, which I think could be a very powerful thought, and I never thought about it this way, is that to take it slow really signifies abundance. Like if you're moving slow, I have time. When I'm moving slow to do something, like I get to enjoy this. When I'm moving fast, it's like because I have to, or because I don't have time, or like that's why I was like, why it feels so good when you're intentionally moving slow or doing, you know, your thing or whatever, having a moment, because in that time, that is when like that is the fruit of being abundant. So imagine if you really could like take a whole day and like you really take your time with stuff. You don't have to feel like you're pressed about anything, because I don't have to be. And you can really like enjoy that feeling, because I think that's the actual thing that we're trying to get to, or that we're trying to look for in a feeling. And yet by rushing through everything, we're like missing the whole opportunity, which is, all day you have that opportunity to do that. So no wonder that would feel like my best moments, because I get to like not think about anything but reading this book and sitting in this tub right now. And that is very much abundance.
And I get to, it's a privilege. I choose to. Like, how you spend your time is up to you, even though sometimes getting caught up in the world, it seems like it's not. And I love that thought and that correlation, because that's really what it is, you know, by you taking that time, you're showing the universe, like, I don't have to rush. Like, I know I'm going to have enough time to get everything done. Lao Tzu has a quote. It's like, you know, if you look at nature, everything gets done and nobody ever rushes. Like, the flower blooms when it blooms. Like, as long as you put in the work.
Trees taking years out here.
Out here.
Straight years to grow. And that's what it's supposed to do. And, I think we can take our time in speaking, take our time in responding to people, take our time in figuring out a thing. Take your time, but taking your time doesn't mean stopping necessarily. So you're taking your time, but probably using it more wisely, because it's more directed, more focused, less distraction, hopefully, and less of the stress of rushing, which sometimes can kind of cloud us up as well, being less effective, like when you're rushing or when you're moving fast. When I'm moving slow, I feel like I'm doing a better job with whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, every time I'm rushing somewhere, I'm going to forget something. I'm going to drop something. I'm going to like do something and be like, damn it. And it's like, you know better, but you still do it. And it's like, whenever you move slow, you're able to be more present, be fully there, brain's fully turned on. You're not in fight or flight or stressed or any of that stuff. You're able to show up as your full self. And so this week, I want y'all to
take it slow.
There we go.
Slow.
Actually,
John
really.
Legend.
There's a Sammy song too. Those are both like came to mind. So
what's a Sammy song? I only know one Sammy song, so I don't know what that
Sammy
could
has
be.
a song called "Take It Slow."
Okay.
Yeah, but so yes, take time for yourselves to take it slow. Hit us at Carlie's Couch, at Lextopia, at CC Fierce on Instagram, Carlie Carpio on Twitter. Let us know what y'all doing. It can be something small, like rubbing your ashy feet. It can be cooking yourself a meal, or something big. Like if you taking a whole day off and gonna do that, I want to hear about those things too.
Yeah, so we can shout you out on an episode.
Yep. And actually, this week we do have a shout out. It came to mind whenever we were talking, because we're talking about taking it slow and building rituals into the little moments, which are really the most important moments. And y'all are the first to know, because I just decided, like, in my head, but the relaxation boxes are dropping this week. So
go
ahead and sign up for them. Get on that mailing list at Holistic, HEAUX.
They'll be available on the website this week?
Yep, and there it's pre-order, but they will be shipping out in time to get there, like a week or two before Christmas. So.
Oh, cool. All right, so get you a relaxation box. Go to the website. Remember to put that link in there.
Yep.
And people could go to the website and pre-order. Sounds good. And those could be a gift for other people, right?
Absolutely.
That's a good for a gift.
Yep. And I might you never know, but I might have a little thing where if you buy one for yourself, you might have a discount to buy one for somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Cool. That's cool.
Yep. And then this week's question of the week, Alexia, what is something you really resent paying for?
Resent. The only thing I can think of is money that went to another person to help them. So,
okay,
I sure haven't seen that because I'm really trying to think like resent. I mean, you know, when all of a sudden you be like, dang, I don't have no money. All of a sudden, because somebody didn't pay something or didn't do something, it's like I shouldn't have got that. Shouldn't have got that Starbucks real quick. But like real resentment, definitely just like being over responsible and really it's like stepping in to help somebody where it's like they could have figured something else out. I'm sure, but
mine is parking. I'd be irritated because I know that these parking tickets and these parking meters be paying these cities' bills, and then they still be giving us tickets and charging us like crazy. So that is something that I resent paying for.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. They be making
bread, bro. Especially the city of Inglewood. Y'all the dirtiest ones that I've seen so far.
Yeah, that's trash. So what is a purchase that you resent? What do you resent paying for? Let us know. And we hope that you enjoyed this episode. We hope that you go vote this week.
Please do.
And we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.